I want to call to order the November 20th, 2014 meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. Would everyone please stand for the invocation given by Miss Maria McLean? Come to the podium, please. And remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance being given by all the children here that have supported the veterans of America.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, during this special time of the year, we'd like to give a special thanks to all of our family and friends that we hold so dear to us, both near and far, and also those that have gone on ahead of us. Especially, we'd like to ask you to remember Mary Tomplay and Kenneth Deneau. Amen.
Amen. Would you guys come up for the pledge? Come up to the front, please. We're missing some more children. All of y'all, come on up. All the children. Y'all are our future. Come up. Come to the middle of the podium. Whenever you guys are ready.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all very much. Thank you, Miss Maria. Roll call, Madam Secretary. Please note that Councilman Lohr, Councilman Lambert, and Councilman Johnson are out of town, and Councilman Melanson are absent. We'll move right into the, there'll be no chairs addition. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the secretary, and you'll be given time whenever that item comes up on the agenda. We're especially proud, Parish President, we have a presentation, proclamation to proclaim the Pound Giving Tuesday in Ascension.
Yes, Ms. Sherry Deneau, our Executive Director of Volunteer Ascension, who does a lot of things here in Ascension Parish and helps us out, and we appreciate that. State of Louisiana proclamation to proclaim December 2nd, 2014 as Giving Tuesday in Ascension Parish, whereas Giving Tuesday was established as a national day of giving on the Tuesday following Thanksgiving. Whereas Giving Tuesday is a celebration of philanthropy and volunteerism where people give whatever they are able to give. Whereas Giving Tuesday is a day where citizens work together to share commitment, rally for favorite causes, build a strong community, and think about other people. Whereas it is fitting and proper on Giving Tuesday and on every day to recognize the tremendous impact of philanthropy, volunteerism, and community service in Ascension Parish. Whereas Giving Tuesday is an opportunity to encourage citizens to serve others throughout the Christmas season and during other times of the year. Now therefore, be it proclaimed, I, Tommy Morton, President of Parish Ascension, State of Louisiana, by the virtue of the authority vested in me, hereby to proclaim December 2nd, 2014 as Giving Tuesday in Ascension Parish, and urge all our citizens to join together to give back to the community in any way that personally needs. Sherry?
We'd like to encourage everyone to take part in our Giving Tuesday, and we're asking that you join with your family, your neighbors, your church, and find a project in your community that will make a difference. So if you don't have a project, you can call our office. We'll be happy to connect you with one. Or if you already have one, please let us know about it. Give us a call, send us some pictures. We'd love to feature you guys in the end of our campaign. And we also want to thank our parish president for taking part in our social media campaign and helping us promote this Giving Tuesday. We appreciate your support. So thank you. We look forward to seeing you out on December 2nd giving. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, ma'am. And we'll move right into the parish president's report. Mr. Martinez?
Well, first of all, I want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving and a holiday season also. Be careful in whatever endeavors you do if you do any traveling. Next, I'd like to call up Miss Joyce LaCour. Every year during Veterans Day, during the week of Veterans Day, there's a poster contest that Ms. LaCour and the Republican women do. And it's just a wonderful thing and something that I've been proud to be part of, I think, since the inception. And, you know, it's always good that our young people remember the reason for Veterans Day and why we celebrate it. And to take an opportunity to thank veterans for giving us the ability to do what we do here in America. So, Joyce, I want to thank your organization again for doing such a wonderful job, not only with the poster contest, but with giving dictionaries and things in our school system. So thanks to the Republican women for doing such a great job in the parish.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for your support of all of our endeavors. This is the 5th year of our Ascension Republican Women Veterans Day poster contest, which we sponsor in the high schools and the middle schools in the parish. This year, as last year, Miss Amy Bro, who is a social studies teacher at Santa Ma Middle, participated last year. This year, Santa Ma Middle were the only students, and there were about 120 of them, that submitted posters for the contest. Miss Amy is sitting right over there, and so we really thank her for instilling in her students a history of Veterans Day and the themes that her students can use in this. This year, we generally give a first place, second place, third place, and an honorable mention. But this year, the parish president, Tommy Martinez, got even more involved, and he made us a donation of a prize so that we're giving for the first time this year a President's Choice Award. And the students who won the contest, and it was very difficult for us to judge these posters because all of them had a lot of merit. And we're going to be putting those on our Facebook page. They're on the Santa Ma Middle Facebook page as well. But the winner of the and if you will come forward with your poster and your certificate. And this is Miss Stacy Cooper, who is our treasurer of Ascension Republican Women. So she's the one you should pay deference to because she has the cash prizes. And the prizes are $125 for the President's Choice Award, and that's thanks to your parish president. And $100 for the first place award, and $50 for second place, and $75 for second place, $50 for third place, and $25 for honorable mention. The winner this year of the President's first time ever President's Choice Award is Aubrey Odell. And will Audrey come forward? And if you'll stand right here, honey. And then the first place winner in the contest is Madison Delat. And second place winner is James Malin. And the third place winner is Juliet Davis. An honorable mention goes to Reagan Revere. Is that correct pronunciation, Revere? Okay. And they've all done a super job, as you can see, in making these posters, and they had very interesting themes. Some of them used a particular war theater like
World War II or Vietnam and so forth, but they all had, and they honored our fallen soldiers as well. So we thank everyone, and especially Amy Bro and Michelle Causey from Santa Ma Middle for entering and taking the time to participate in this contest, because we think it's wonderful that they are teaching the history of our country and how our veterans have served. Thank you. I'm going to give the microphone back to the parish president.
Thank you, and we're proud of all you young kids that participated.
Lester wants
We get the kids to come forward, and then y'all be behind the kids.
Tell us what to do, Lester.
Y'all need to shift over this way? Yeah, you're behind them. Be there.
Harold got y'all.
All right.
Harold gonna straighten you up.
Okay, Ms. Joyce? Two shots on three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. No problem.
Y'all want to hold it for a minute? I think we got a couple more people want to take pictures. Y'all can step to the front and take pictures if you want. We'll give you a little bit. You get one chance for this. This you only come up here, so. You're very proud of your children.
You don't take pictures of something like this that didn't really happen.
That's right.
Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Parish President, you have anything else, sir?
That's all I have.
We'll move on to agenda item number 7, the consent agenda.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Satterley. Yes, discussion. Parish President.
I think on the insurance portion, Mr. Robert wanted to maybe talk to you a little bit more and maybe amend that one, if that's possible. Do we have to take it off the
Well,
consent?
You need to make a motion to remove it from the consent agenda.
I will.
And then vote on the consent agenda, and then if you want to put it in general business, you can.
The chair would entertain a motion to move
Second.
agenda item number 7A.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Shakespeare, second by Mr. Satterley. Any objection? Motion passes. We'll move that to agenda item number let's see, let's go to 8A.
Now you need action on the consent agenda, the remainder of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to move the consent agenda by Mr. Shakespeare, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Motion passes. We'll move to agenda item number 8, condemnation proceedings, 43381 Norwood Road, Gonzales.
Move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr.
Second. Glad to get rid of this one.
by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by, who was down there?
Travis.
By Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Compton.
Any discussion? Any opposition?
Discussion. I just want to make sure no one here own this property, that's all. And that's it.
Yeah, we don't have anybody signed in. Ricky, you got any new revelations, or this is what we'd heard when it was introduced?
This is actually a third one. You know, we had two a couple meetings ago, but this is a third one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 8A, approval of employee insurance renewal for 2015 to include raising the employee life insurance amount from $25,000 to $35,000. Mr. Harry Robert, Robert Insurance.
Thank you, Council. It's always a pleasure serving you. I passed out some options that y'all asked me to give y'all in regards to some of the things that might be available to kind of, enhance the employee benefit program. And if you'd like for me to go over them to you, option 1 through option 4, I'll be happy to do it.
Yes, please.
I think probably I emailed y'all, a copy prior to it, so if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything. Option 1 shows changing the dental contribution from 50% to 75%. And it would cost an increase in monthly of $3,474, okay? Option number 2 would be to increase the employee life insurance from $25,000 to $35,000. And that would cost $1,015.20 per month. Okay. The 4th option would be to increase the HSA $25 from $100 to $125, which would cost $6,425, a month additional. So any one or any number of the options may be chosen. And that just depends on what's the pleasure of the council. If you have any questions as regard to the annual consideration, it's kind of expressed also on the sheet, how it's spread out from monthly to annual differential. But anything that y'all would you care to do, I'll be happy to go ahead and proceed.
Yes, Ms. Cazzo, you had a question?
Yes, I did. Is there, I understand we could do all of the above?
Right.
Okay. Mr. President, do you have a recommendation regarding this?
Yes, I'd like to at least look at the HSA. I think that does good. It pretty much balances out, and the employee would be actually paying zero deduction. Is that correct, Mr.
Right. Presently, you have a $100 contribution, which amounts to $1,200 per year for the HSA. If you add another $25, which would be $300, that would total up to $1,500, which is the amount of the deductible. So you would be paying 100% of the deductible for your employees if you would increase the HSA, $25, per month, to each employee. That's option number 4 on your sheet in front of you.
And of course, the dental is good, and all of them are good. I mean, but that one would be most beneficial to the employees.
And I'll, concur with the parish president, because it gives versatile options to every employee. You can use it as seen fit, because it belongs to you, and however you want to spend it, as long as it's something that's allowable, you can spend it. You can spend it on one of the options that you have here. You can spend it on medical purposes or whatever that you may choose to do with it. You can use it to pay your deductible if you'd like.
So I think I'm no math whiz, but I think the quick calculation here is that if we did all 3, we'd be looking at a $10,800 increase,
That's right, 10,914 exactly.
something like that. And
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. What, in the previous meeting, we talked about an 8% reduction in our premiums, as I
Right.
recall.
So if you want some percentages,
Yes.
they kind of give you, okay.
Yeah, if you,
You're talking about the allowable increase in the budget, was probably about 10 to 12% increase, which would probably give you somewhere near I think a $400,000, increase in your total insurance package, okay? So you had a reduction in your premium, okay? So that contributed about $300,000, okay? So you have a net savings of your budget allowance, and your savings from your insurance premium about $700,000, okay? So the total amount of the increase would be roughly around 3% of the total expenditure that you have in for the health insurance, if you increase both of them, or all of them. So
Well, unless there's any further discussion, I'd like to make a motion that we increase them all.
We have a motion by Ms. Cazzo to take all 4 options, and a second by Mr. Shake Snyder. Mr. Shake Snyder, discussion.
Harry, do you have on you, what was our total?
Put your microphone up.
I'm sorry.
What was our total cost last year?
Total cost last year was 3.9, okay? So what happens this year, you had an actual 8% decrease.
And so what
Okay.
would that be without this?
Okay, so if you add all of the options to what you have now, your total thing is gonna be 4.4, okay? So you're increasing your total package 3%. If you take all of the options and you add it, to your total premiums that you have now for your insurance, you're
So we're
increasing
going
the
up
total thing
3% over
3%.
what we had last year?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
3%
I
over
think,
last year.
I think,
And you had a
Right.
savings of 8% to begin with.
right, I think an increase of 3% and an opportunity to, when these costs came out and it increased the cost of insurance, we were forced to downgrade our insurance, and the employees, had to take less coverage.
Exactly.
And so we have an opportunity now for a very small amount to increase that coverage, and I think that's only the right thing to do. And I'm tickled pink we can do this for the employees, and hopefully we can continue to, with the programs we have, the wellness program and all, continue to see some reductions and see some increase in coverage. So I think it's great. Thank you, Harry, for all you've
Appreciate
done, and Christine.
And the fact that what we're doing is we're coming in under our budgeted 2015 amount.
Exactly.
We'd budgeted an increase in, we had an overall savings, and
You're
then
still 5% under your.
and we still 5 on the budget.
It's important also to thank the employees for getting involved.
Right.
I don't think people at first realize this, but when the employees get involved, it enables the whole system to work better. So, kudos to all the employees that helped us lower these premiums so that we can offer you better rates.
And I think you're right, Ken. I think it's reasonable, it's generous, and it's conservative, So I think that probably, it's well rewarded to the employees, today.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes, and I just want to verify that is Humana we went under, correct?
Right.
So once again, I have to agree with Kent, just, we listen to the parish employees, and it pay it off in the long run. So once again, I have to give it to the parish employees for making a wise decision. So it pays off. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Turner?
I want a quick clarification on that. HSA, so now each employee will be getting $1,500 a year from the parish?
Right.
Okay. And so that's going to cover the full deductible for an individual, but not a family though, right? Because the family is
Exactly.
$3,000, right?
Right.
So half of it, right?
Employee, exactly.
Just wanted to clarify that point.
Yeah.
And also to echo sentiments of Mr. Joseph. I remember last year, I think we had Coventry at first, and there was some discussion as whether Humana would be a better option. I do
Exactly.
want to thank the employees for coming to the plate and voicing their opinion, and as it turns out, seems to be Humana turned out to be a very good choice.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion?
So
Yes, Mr. Robert?
So we want to go ahead and increase all 3 options, as indicated.
After this vote.
Well, we didn't vote on it yet.
I was wondering if you.
But that
That is the motion.
That is
Go
the
with option
motion.
4. Correct?
Yes.
we have in front of us options 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
And the motion is
Go ahead and
to
increase
accept all 4 options.
4 options, great.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, Krista, we need anything else, or you're all right with that?
Just need to make sure that, in addition with these 4 options, that we also adopt the remainder of our renewal for 2015, which is what was included in the Finance Committee packet. And that's just overall accepting Humana for our medical, our dental, our life, you know, that overall packet along with these 4 additional options for our employees.
That was your motion.
Yeah, I'll make that motion to reflect that we also accept the overall package with Humana, together with the option 1, 2, 3, and 4 as an addition.
Terrific.
Yep.
Any other questions?
No further questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, before we wrap the gavel, I want to thank the administration staff and everybody for working hard and reaching out to the employees and constantly looking after everybody.
Christie
Mr.
does a
President.
great job in working. I've gotten
Yes.
several compliments on her work, so I'll just want to say that in public.
She's been in the trenches the last
Great
2
choice.
years of renewal, I know
Yeah,
that.
You're just their own engineer.
Yeah,
Great
I
job.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
With no further discussion, do we have any objection? Motion passes. We'll move along to agenda item number 9, budget approval for ENG 13-024 LA 42 sewer construction, engineering, and inspection services. Additional funds to be added to the original contract of $90,000, not to exceed $190,000. Mr. President, go ahead, Mike.
This is just to exceed the contract, our existing contract by $100,000 for the CE9 42.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Sadler. And this is an expanded scope, right?
No, sir, the scope's going to stay the same. We're just increasing the money, just increasing the budget. The scope's going to stay the same
Okay. Yes, Ms. Cazzo.
Why?
because we
Yes.
used up the monies. Ma'am?
So what does this do to the overall budget? I mean, I'm sure there's lots of room in that thing, but
The expanding the time of the service or the
No, sir,
scope?
we're not expanding the time. The contract ends in May of next year.
Mhm.
Of this year, coming.
so what's the reason for?
Because
the-
we used the money so far.
They need more money.
Well, I understand that, but,
Inflation.
I mean, when we
So the
plan-
original
project's
intent
not
is
complete.
for the-
You know.
Mr. President.
We've asked the engineer to stay on longer than,
Right. That's what I'm trying to
for
get
an
at.
additional 30 days, and to also help with the transition, that we're going to transition from using an outside engineer to using our own forces to monitor the Highway 42 sewer job. So that's the reasoning why
Thank you.
we're doing this. So.
Yes, Mr. Shake Snyder.
I'm a bit puzzled. We have a $90,000 contract, right? And that was supposed to be for the extent of the project.
No, sir, that was just our generic retainer contract, and we were using them.
So we have a retainer for who? Who is this go to? GSA? And so now they're going to have another $100,000. And how long did this 90,000? I'm just trying to get a handle on this. No one's told me.
Retained a contract for 90,000 for 1 year.
Okay.
Okay. What happened was we put them on the Highway 42 project. We had,
Okay.
and they that time frame. We had, if you recall, we had another engineering firm on that we pulled off. Okay.
Okay.
So we put GSA on, so they could actually start the project to start laying the sewer pipe and doing all these other things. So we used the retainer contract that we had with GSA for that reason, but it wasn't enough in the retainer contract to carry us through the point that we are today. So basically, we have another probably 30 to 60 days that we're going to keep them on to so we can transition into our people doing it.
Okay, so the retainer contract was just to get them started.
But we give out retainer contracts, if you know, every year we give about 4 or 5 of them out. Sometimes what we're asking to do here is that the retainer contract, the money ran out. And I don't know if it was all on this project, it may have been on some other project. But the retainer contract with GSA ran out, so we wanted to expand it a little longer and a little further so we could transition our people in.
And look, I have no problem.
No,
with
I
this.
know you
I'm
don't.
trying to understand how we want to keep them for 30 days
or 100,000 extra?
No, I understand that question. No, that's not the way it worked, no.
No, I mean, it's
No.
also so that we don't leave that contract with no money left in it for the rest of the time.
Well,
Ah,
we can talk about it later if you're satisfied with what.
Well, I'm satisfied where we're at today because we're gonna transition into doing it ourselves, so we should save a lot of money at that point.
And who's going to be doing it?
It's gonna be Mr. Terry here and Mr. Enlow, and then we will do our own inspections also,
Okay.
which we did on 73 also.
Yeah, I just want to clear up a fact for everybody is that we enter into retainer contracts. We don't always use them up. We have that option, and we see them every year. They come in front of us, and, right, and you just a retainer contract that gives you the ability to go out and have those people on call if you need them. Mr. Joseph,
I hadn't been out on the job, Ken, I'm just explaining it the way I've been explained, it's been explained to me. So maybe Mr. Terry can add a little more, Mike Enlow can add a little bit more items.
Councilman Schexner, this money is also to allow for some more technical items that may come up, pump station startup, things of that nature, that we may need to have more expertise on.
Well, and I. I understand, what we have right here to vote on is now all of a sudden we changing from 90,000 to 190,000, and they're talking about just a few days on a project that they've been working on. I have no problem, it's just not explained to us in a manner that doesn't allow for us to question, I mean, because the appearances of that, it just, and so we're gonna take on this, and we have the people and everything to be able to provide the services that we need to and the expertise. Are we gonna pay the?
Yes, sir.
I asked my staff that, and they said they could handle it, so I'm gonna allow them to handle it.
Well, we need to have, I think we all need to discuss a few things with that, because we're having some issues in some other areas where, well, we can talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
yes, Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess the company that we fired, Mr. President, we did have a remaining balance on it, or and that money there can be used to offset this here, I'm assuming. That's.
Didn't have any left over. In fact, they came for some extra, if you recall, because we asked them to get us some paperwork, and they charged us $10,000 to get paperwork, if you recall.
Yeah.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Just to clear up, Mr. Enlow and Mr. Terry, basically just to explain to everybody that these are retainage contracts. Apparently, the retainage contract that we have with GSA is burnt on probably several other issues at this point in stopgap, not to lose time. We're going to increase this contract based on waiting a year and then doing another contract. And I can only assume that you guys have developed a scope of basically what you think you're going to need. You put the dollar figures to it, you put the man hours to it and all that, and that's how you came up with actually throwing at least $100,000 at it. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank
As
you.
you're well aware of.
All right. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Turner.
And just for the public knowledge, the $100,000 is not necessarily going to be spent. It's just in case, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Different phases of construction are more involved, as you well know,
Yeah.
Chairman.
And this is not the first time we've increased the retainage contract. It's just, sometimes you don't use it in a year, sometimes you use twice as much in a year, depending on where we target, road, sewer, whatever, recreation, whatever it is. Any further discussion? I think we have a motion on the floor in a second, right, Madam Secretary? Any objection? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 10, Hillaryville Park, construction improvements. Mr. Turner, you'd asked me to put this on the agenda. You wanted a quick discussion on it, sir?
Correct. Ask Mr. Garning to come up. And basically why for this to get put on the agenda, we have they're about to start the construction of the park in Hillaryville. That was supposed to have been started a few years back, and they're about to go ahead and start that park now, which is behind the fire station, and just wanted
Sure.
to go ahead and give an
Mr.
overview.
Chairman, fellow council members, we have submitted our plan to the Land and Water Conservation for review plans. We've, President Martinez has okayed us to go ahead and order a playground. It's going to run about $35,000 to be put out there. We're going to build 2 pavilions, which we've gone to a standard type pavilion for all the parks so that everybody gets the same kind of pavilion, and also we do the restroom, you know, the same way. And hopefully by the first of the year, we'll have some more money and put some more in it, because there's no grant money coming in right now. It's coming out of the recreation fund.
And as far as, do we have a start date yet?
Well, they're looking at plans. We should get that back more probably in a week or 2.
Okay. So in
And
rough,
this is taking us 5 years to get to this point.
right. So roughly in about 2 weeks, we should have a start date with a finalized plan.
When's your next recreation meeting, sir?
We're not going to have one in December, so we're going to have the next one in January. So,
Second Tuesday in January,
yes.
early, 5 o'clock, 5:30,
Probably 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Yes, sir. Any questions?
All right, Ms. Cazzo.
Who's responsible for the plan? Who's working on the plan?
God, I got all that. I got the blueprints and everything else. I can get y'all all a copy.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I was
Sure.
just curious.
Yes, Mr. Shake Snyder.
Yes, is this the same pot of money that Sorrento Little Park is digging from?
Could be.
Okay, well,
I'll meet with President Martinez. you know,
that
see-
hadn't disappeared, did it? 'Cause
Huh?
That hadn't disappeared,
No,
because
sir.
5 years has been,
Yes,
been a couple times 5 years.
right. We still got a problem with the property line, you know, goes into the,
Yeah, but that's been worked on
Yeah.
for 4 or 5 years. That's been discussed and worked on, and solutions have been offered.
okay.
And I'd like to, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put that on the agenda for next meeting
All
too,
right.
on the Sorrento one.
Okay. You want it for the Recreation Committee meeting first?
Well, we've been all through all of that.
Yes.
Long, many times ago.
Okay.
Let's go through
We-
recreation.
we way
I would
past-
request, Mr. Shake Snyder, that we go through recreation.
Well, we're way past that.
We'll talk about that
Whatever y'all
later.
wish.
Any further
We're not
discussion?
gonna have a meeting next month, by the way, so. that
Well,
puts
maybe
us
we
into
should. We
another-
seem to have some important issues in recreation. And our natural progression is to come through committee, come up to the council. Once it's deliberated, and you'll have, you know, you got numbers in front of you. You got a little bit more information. Yes, sir.
Well, what I do, I'll go ahead and hold a recreation meeting next month. I
Okay.
get with Michelle, and we'll get a date together when we can make sure we have a quorum there, so Mr. Shakes and I can bring it before the council,
Okay.
the Recreation Committee, so we can get it before the council as soon as possible.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciated that, Mr. Turner.
No
Work with
problem.
the rest of the council.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. No further
Alrighty.
discussion on this? Thank you. We'll move along to agenda item number 11, Silver Oaks PUD Concept Plan, Zoning Review ID 2468.14, Track B1A2, B1, Track B1A2, B2 of the J. Kraus LLC property, and Track B1A2C for Chris Ingram. Joint Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. This is for review only. We'll move on to agenda item number 12, Zoning Review ID 2465.14. Track B, C, and D of the Giles Williams tract for Ray Shake Snyder and Giles Williams, located on the west side of LA 431, approximately 700 feet south of LA Highway 931, to amend the Ascension zoning map from medium-intensity residential, RM, to Crossroads Commercial. Zoning Commission recommends approval for review only. Move on to agenda item number 13 for review, ID 2466.14, Lot F1 of the Joseph Stevens Senior Estate for succession of Brian Rickle, located on the north side of Anderson Road, approximately 400 feet east of Connor Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map for conservation, from conservation to Crossroads Commercial. Zoning Commission recommends denial for review only. We'll move along to agenda item number 14, zoning review ID 2467.14, Lot 3 of the re-subdivision of an unnamed tract formerly of the Nick Musco property for Ralph Stassi, located on the west side of Lemonville Cutoff Road, approximately 2,000 feet north of LA Highway 3120, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to mixed-use corridor. Zoning Commission recommends approval for review only. We'll move on to introduction of ordinance, SR 14-11, revision of the subdivision regulations in the United Land Development Code pertaining to townhouse subdivisions. Planning Commission recommends approval. Motion introduced. We have a motion by Mr. Sadler to introduce.
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? It's introduced. Agenda item number 16, introduction of an ordinance to amend Ascension Parish zoning map from light industrial, medium intensity residential, and conservation to high industrial for Souvenir Incorporated, located on the north side of LA Highway 1, approximately 4,700 feet east of LA 405.
So move.
A motion by Mr. Joseph to introduce, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any opposition? It's introduced. We'll move to our public hearing ordinances. Reading of ordinance to amend the 2014 budget as adopt the 2015 budget.
Whereas a revision of certain budgets for 2014 budget year for certain funds have been prepared and submitted to parish council as follows. The first number will be the operating surplus of deficit. The second will be the fund balance. General deficit 762,350. Fund balance 566,0622. Road and bridge surplus 294,600. Fund balance 858,716. East Ascension drainage surplus 118,800. Fund balance 355,84421. West Ascension drainage deficit 152,200. Fund balance 155,9189. Sales and use tax surplus 362,9500. Fund balance 14875,895. Criminal court surplus 62,500. Fund balance deficit 833,758. Health unit surplus 11970. Fund balance 3216309. Mental health surplus 12600. Fund balance 4148099. Fire district number 2 surplus 143400. Fund balance 1339426. Recreation deficit 325,500. Fund balance 4616972. Lighting district number 1 deficit 3400. Fund balance 321135. Lighting district number 2 surplus 14900. Fund balance 13829. Lighting district number 3 surplus 7,000. Fund balance 159,627. Lighting district number 4 surplus 14600. Fund balance $100,090. Lighting district number 5 surplus 2400. Fund balance 105562. Lighting district number 6 deficit 631000. Fund balance 1817704. Lighting district number 7 surplus 2500. Fund balance 49422. Library board surplus 43,500. Fund balance 27675. LCDGB Lemonville Sewer Project surplus 0, fund balance 89,893. Lamar Dixon Expo Center, deficit 283, fund balance 1197022. Jail construction, deficit $1,370,000, fund balance 0. SNU tax sinking fund, surplus 194,000, fund balance 718,756. East Ascension major sinking fund, surplus 0, fund balance 681,917. East Ascension construction fund, deficit 670,000, fund balance 200,28044. Road project construction fund, deficit 1021500, fund balance 15514,743. Ascension jail fund, deficit 81,500, fund balance 259,632. Law offices court fund, deficit 98,000, fund balance 32182. Office building construction fund, surplus 1572700, fund balance 691,653. Ascension Parish Ascension Insurance Fund, deficit 948,500, fund balance 2757197. HUD Section 800. Fire District Number 1, surplus 970,400, fund balance 6195414. Council on Aging, surplus 21800, fund balance 1564205. Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 fund, surplus 1,000, fund balance 128146. Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 sinking, surplus 2,500, fund balance 407561. 23rd Judicial District Fins Fund, deficit 13,000, fund balance 3884. Fire District Number 1 construction, deficit 6,500, fund balance 201,475. Bayou Terrace Bond Fund, 0, fund balance 24,099. Wastewater Fund, 0, fund balance 187,518. Ascension Parish Maintenance Fund, deficit 471,000, fund balance 576,392. Dental Insurance Fund, deficit 2,200, fund balance 88086. FEMA repetitive loss, acquisition elevation, operating surplus 96, fund balance 314540. Homeland Security Grant, deficit 222050, fund balance 0. Fire District Number 3, surplus 984,200, fund balance 8447487. Fire District Number 1 reserve 0, fund balance 115960. Fire District 1 sinking fund, surplus 1,500, fund balance 153292. Fire District Number 3 construction 0, fund balance 399651. ACUD Number 2, surplus 1059000, fund balance 6858951. Community block grant, deficit 32500, fund balance 58496. Hazard mitigation grant 0, fund balance 64549. Fleet management, deficit 290000, fund balance 3857660. Oak Grove Construction Fund, fund balance deficit 6,500, fund balance 41,474. CDGB Construction Fund, surplus 313,000, fund balance 338,043. Park Construction 0, fund balance 110,026. ACUD Number 1, deficit 134,500, fund balance 3881. ACUD Number 1 sinking fund, surplus 2,000, fund balance 164,708. ACUD Number 1 reserve fund, 0, fund balance 392,734. Lighting District Construction Fund, deficit 50,000, fund balance $15. Whereas the proposed operating budget for the year 2015 includes revenues of $91,299,600, and expenditures of $76,720,600. The capital budget includes revenues of $11,850,500 plus required fund balance of $19,847 for a total of $31,697,500 and expenditures of $42,871,500. Therefore, total operating and capital expenditures revenues plus required fund balance equals $119,592,100 and expenditures equal $119,562,100. Interfund transfers of $490,540,000. Whereas the Ascension Parish Council has reviewed and considered such proposed budget and made revision of the same, and whereas such proposed budget was duly set after proper notice to the public for public hearing, which was held on November 20th, 2014, as required by the revised statute of the State of Louisiana and the Ascension Parish Home Rule Charter, therefore be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council of the State of Louisiana, 1, Section 1, 2014 amended budget, that the amended budget is prepared for 2014 or approved and appropriated by Ascension Parish Council with stipulating that transfer from Sales and Use Tax Fund District Number 1 to the General Fund and Road and Bridge Fund in the amount necessary to maintain the balance of fund will not exceed the amount authorized by the budget. The Recreation Fund is allocated 10% of the net 1% Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 revenues as an additional source of funding. Funding is also provided for the allocation to Sales and Use Tax Number 1 Bond Fund, Sinking Fund, and FINS, Family and Needs of Services, to the extent that the resulting revenues of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 exceed expenditures and transfers, and after such adequate fund balance is maintained, then such excess will be transferred 25% to ACU Number 2 Fund and 75% to General Fund. The 1/3 net of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 2 revenues collected for fire protection shall be shared by Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 1 at 65%, Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 2 at 13%, and by Ascension Parish Fire District Number 3 at 22%. All unexpected appropriations will lapse on December 14. Unexpended appropriations will lapse on December 31st, 2014. Section 2, 2015 budget. The budget proposed for the year 2015 is approved, adopted, and appropriated with the following provisions. Expenditures not contemplated in the operation of the government of Ascension Parish are set forth in the budget or to be approved in accordance with the provisions of Article 8, Section 701 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish. Transfer from the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 to the General Fund and the Road and Bridge Fund in the amount necessary to maintain the balance fund will not exceed the amount authorized in the budget. The Recreation Fund is allocated 10% of the net 1% of Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 revenues as additional source of funding. Funding is also provided for an allocation to the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 Sinking Fund and FINS, Families and Needs of Services, to the extent that the resulting revenues of the Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 exceed expenditures and transfers, and after such adequate fund balance is maintained, then such excess will be transferred 25% to ACUD Number 2 Fund and 75% to General Fund. The 1/3 net Sales and Use Tax District Number 1 revenues collected for fire protection shall be prorated by the Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 1 at 65%, by Ascension Parish Fire Protection District Number 2 at 13%, Ascension Parish Fire District Protection Number 3 at 22%. Funding provided for the appropriate 2014 encumbrances is hereby approved and appropriated. All unexpected appropriations will lapse. All unexpected appropriations will lapse December 31st, 2015. The ordinance have been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon is as follows.
Thank you, sir. Motion to open public hearing.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Lambert to open public hearing. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. We're open for public hearing.
Motion to close.
Motion closed by Mr. Turner. Second by Mr. Joseph. Public hearing is closed. Chair would entertain a motion.
Move the ordinance.
A motion by Mr. Joseph to move the ordinance.
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? Any opposition? Yes, Mr. Cazzo.
Just a question about employee raises. I understand they are allocated in the budget for 2015. What is that rate, and when will they be paid?
It is 5% this year,
It's very generous.
and we are going to make it effective in May.
What's the purpose of a May payment?
We've always
Did
done
you
it that
ever-
way in the
Councilman
past
Carter,
7 years. Basically, it amounts to 2.5% this year and 2.5% next year.
Okay. Mr. Kluwat was saying something at the same
I
time, so
apologize.
that's okay.
But that's basically the way it would end up. Usually we do it in July, August, or June.
Mhm.
So-
But May would,
Yeah. So basically, you're putting 5%, but it's really 2.5% this year and then 2.5% next year. They'll automatically be in.
okay. I don't quite understand that.
I mean,
That's kind of what we've started it in 2008, basically. We put 3% for the year, but we start in the June, general.
So we're moving that
But
to
it
May
works.
this year.
What?
So we're moving that to May this year.
Yeah, we move it, May, June, July, whatever.
Mr. Joseph,
Yeah,
You got
Mr.
the
President,
floor.
I'm a little bit confused on that one there. So
explain
you,
the cycle.
I mean,
We're giving a 5% raise, but it don't become effective till May. That's about how simple it is. It's not that difficult.
so they're already getting 2%, 2.5% already right now, what you're
No.
saying? Well, you just say the
They
budget.
got 3% last year, so they're gonna have their 3%.
So so it's like a, well, I'm confused on that. I'm sorry. It sounds simple, but it.
Yes, Mr. Shake Snyder.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They're getting a 5% raise, you figure out how much money that comes out to, and you start paying them either May, June, or July, and you're gonna continue for a 12-month period.
Correct. Then next
Okay, and
May,
they
June,
end
they
up
do the
billing
same
next
thing.
year.
Yeah.
So-
So
It ends up being a 5%.
It's-
We can
Sometimes-
start in January, I mean, they can
Sometimes
only
things
get-
happen, like if we get rain days or some
They can
things that
only
we
get
don't
half
have,
of it
we have to
this-
do paid,
this calendar year.
paid things for, well, then we may move it a day or two, so it doesn't mess up the budget, basically. We try to keep the budget consistent. It gives us some room in the case of something unexpectedly comes up, like ice storm, we give everybody off, or
Hurricane.
something like that, and then we work it out that way.
Yes, indeed.
It's different, but it's the way I've done it since I've been here, so, I mean, I'm not gonna,
It's different.
it amounts to the same thing. It
As
just
long
takes-
as it's legal, we're good with
Well,
it.
why is it not legal?
No, I'm just joking.
Nah.
It's legal.
Yes, it's
Like I
very
say,
legal.
it's different.
The employees understand it. so-
Yes, indeed, I'm sure they do.
Well, maybe they do.
What?
You know, I mean, sometimes if the chair will recognize me, I mean, I own a
Yes,
business.
please, you
When
got
I
it.
gave raises, I gave them at the first of the year typically, or I gave them based on merit, as well as at the first of the year.
Sometimes we look at merit, sometimes, some years we don't, sometimes we do, depends on the budget. We try to be, fair all the way across the board, but we don't, every year we don't give merit raise.
So the raise for this year is 5%.
Or in May, that's correct.
Well, I would think you should start them in January. These people.
Why not? You're getting a 5% raise in May, when it starts,
You talking about the last raise?
you want to
was
do it
in-
on a calendar basis, I kind of do it on
on
That's-
fiscal.
a
Okay,
budget
now-
basis, and that way it gives me time to look at the budget and work through it. So,
Okay.
but if you want to do it, I mean, that's up to you. I mean, that's just the way I've been doing it, Ms. Calzo, and, I just think, I find it works a lot better that way.
You do pay raise on your physical year that you.
Well, I mean, everybody got different physical.
Right, yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that's the
Some
way you
people
use
go
it.
annual budget, some, state does in July, the federal government's November. I mean, just,
You do it, raises due on the physical year of June. That's your physical year.
think
for
one
pay
of
That
the-
is
raise
not
is
the
gonna
parish's fiscal year. I mean, really.
I'm just-
fiscal year,
January to
yeah,
June. I
no.
mean, for the sake, I mean, if I was an employee here, and I'm just looking at this from their perspective, I want my raise in January. If I'm getting a 5% raise, then I want my raise for the whole year, not half the year.
get it if you stay a whole year. You
When
go
was the
from
date
May to
of-
May, you're gonna have a 5%.
What was the date of the last raise, Mr. Martinez?
I think it was July.
July of 2014,
Yeah.
right?
They're gonna be,
So
So
they're
they're
gonna,
gonna
they're
be
gonna
in
do
a-
better this year because they're gonna be
Doing
a couple of
They're
days.
gonna be an 11-month cycle.
Yes.
To a 10,
Yeah.
11-month cycle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
And
it's just my math,
like
okay?
a school teacher, just think
Yeah.
of a school.
being in industry, I just sometimes, fiscal budgets enter in July 1, but the GNP, the gross national product, comes out generally in May at some point, and that tells you whether whether where the cost of living lies, and that's generally a negotiating point at some point right toward the middle of the year for the prior year. And so that's why some people do it at that point of the year. They have
I
better
understand the
projections.
physical year. I understand when he do it June,
Yes,
that's his
Mr.
physical
Sally.
year for
Yeah,
pay raise. I understand that concept.
If I got a
I
big
just don't
flood, and
understand
we spend a lot of money in salaries on overtime for certain events.
Mm-hmm.
This gives me leeway to kind of balance it. For instead of a 5, I may go 4. I put in 5, but it may go, or we may move it back further. That way, it kind of instead of
You're authorized to give 5 based on our budget.
right.
Thank you.
For the year 2015.
Yes, Mr. Sadler,
Yeah, let me see if I can confuse the issue any further.
go
but,
ahead. I'm sure you can.
It shouldn't be hard, but I think I understand what the president's saying, and I think it's important that everybody heard, not just listened or understood with what Chairman Cluett just said. To be clear, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll be corrected, the employees in Ascension Parish got a raise in May, in July, and it was for 3%. So if they stay with us from July to July, they will continue to enjoy that raise, including this month and next month and so forth. Now they can look forward to another 5%, which will occur this time in May. And if they stay a year from that point, it'll be another 5 on top of the 3 they had gotten before. As a result of the second pay raise, whether it's a fiscal July 1 deal or a annual January to January 1 year-to-year deal, actually this year worked out a little bit better, Mr. Martinez, correct me if I'm wrong, because May, you've got June and then July. So essentially for 10 months, if I heard our
Yeah.
chairman correctly, they got 3%. And now they're going to be having 3 plus 5 is 8 for 2 months at the end of that cycle before they begin to enjoy just, did that make sense? Thank you. And I don't hesitate to add, this council just voted a rather nice Christmas present on the insurance situation by voting in the 4 options earlier. And I'd only ask, by the way, Mr. President, are they aware that that's coming, or is it just something that's going to be a great surprise?
No, not at this point, but we will send an email out to 'em.
Right.
I mean, we all have a meeting with it.
Well, I'm glad for them.
We ought to, and I mean, we're competing right now with some pretty tough wages in the chemical corridor. I mean, anybody that wants to go to work pretty much can go to work and can make at least $15 to $20 an hour as a laborer. So, I mean, we start our people off, our laborers off at $10, so we $5 behind the 8 ball when we get started. But generally, if we keep people a long enough time, they'll catch up to that point. And by being able to give more benefits like we did this year, that helps. And that's some one of the reasons why this year I put 5 in instead of 3. So, and gave it 2 months early.
And one more comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Mr. President, is it safe to say that we're taking care of business, so to speak, relative to COLA, cost of living adjustments? We're doing better than that.
It works out that way, yes. I mean, I don't
Is it
look
fair
at
to say we're doing better
exact
than-
numbers. We're above cost of living raises, I would think, on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Kezzo.
That was my concern, Mr. President, is retention and morale. I mean, we are competing in a very difficult environment right now. Likewise, I have a question about engineering salaries. I mean, I realize that we are getting ready to embark on taking on more and more engineering projects in-house. And so I'm interested in whether our salaries there are competitive for, particularly concerning the growth in industry in our region.
I would say that we're competitive on the beginning market engineer, or the engineering training, EITs. When we get to seasoned engineer, I don't think we are, because we're looking at anywhere from 120 to 150 a year, and generally we pay somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 90,000. So that's where we at on that.
I would just like this council to be aware of that, and ask you to consider making sure that we are competitive. Otherwise, we are going to have a revolving door, which always leads to less performance.
We're experiencing that at this current
Right
time,
now.
but we're going to work through it and get things done, so it won't be a problem. If not, we'll disband our engineering department, farm everything out if we have to. So.
Mr. Shake Snyder.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. There was a reason we went to our own engineering department, because the amount of savings that we would have on the road plans and things like that. However, but what happened was, and put it into effect, we are not paying competitive costs for engineers, and if we paid them 3 times more, we'd still be saving a considerable sum to do some of these things. So I just think, I think it's hurting us in the parish that that this revolving door is not going to happen. It has been happening all the way through, just when we get them trained and everything good enough to be very positive for us, they move on.
I've worked with engineers pretty much the last 14 years, and I can tell you that it's a revolving door no matter what you pay in most instances. But what we're trying to do is start an engineering group here. We've been about 1.5 years into it, and we've certainly saved a lot of money on road projects. You figure if we do $12 million this year, and then we save 10%, that's basically what we're looking at. That's $1.2 million. Our overall budget in engineers is about 1.3 million just on road projects. I mean, so it pretty much equal out just on the road project. Surveying would be another big expense, but we do our own surveying. So in most instances, so we do farm out several things. Basically, we've had one thing that we had was engineers that you has to have an engineer to review plans. Okay, the gentleman that we did have quit. Now we were getting some complaints. Not that he had another job offer somewhere else, and he went to Oregon, and his family wanted to move. So it wasn't anything that he was mad or anything here. But the problem is that the contractors want the plans reviewed immediately, almost right away. Within a week, they want it done. But it can't happen that way, because we got to go through the drainage review to all these other things. So right now, in the meantime, we've hired T. Baker Smith to review plans for the next few months until we can hire people. But the problem is, it cost us about $80,000 a year to $90,000 a year to review plans. Okay, the gentleman we had, we were paying 80-something thousand. He was an engineer. Now, if you want it done twice as fast, we need to hire 2 people to do it. But we have to go ahead and say, hey, if it's going to cost us twice as much, we need to go ahead and charge twice as much. So if you want it quick, we'll get it to you quick. But we're going to double the fee, because it's going to cost us twice as much for us to review those plans. So if that's the trade-off, I'm happy to do it. Or if we need to pay $120,000 to an engineer to do it and get someone to help him for $60,000, and we get it to where it's revenue neutral. Because, I mean, I don't think we should be footing the bill to review plans for developers. If we're going to do it, and if you want it quick, we'll get it to you quick. But you're going to up the fees. That's just my thought process.
Not a bad thought, Mr. Shake Snyder.
Well, there's different things. You know, we review plans for commercial. We do review plans for residential, and I certainly don't think that that we're cost neutral on residential reviews or commercial reviews. So But it is a service that we require them to come through with plans, and so we need to just charge a reasonable price, and regardless of what we charge, if they know it in advance, the big thing is to get a reasonable time frame. And just like a homeowner waiting for their loan for their house cannot be held up, or a business that goes through the bank cannot be held up. So the time factor is the most important thing, regardless of what we have to do to make sure our time factors are in accordance. And I think we need to step ahead of everybody else, because I think we, we are ahead of other people in other areas in this parish, and I think we have the tools and wherewithal in this parish to move things faster than other parishes. So I would like to be ahead of other parishes in those areas where when people do apply, whether it's residential, commercial, or subdivision or whatever, that in a very timely manner, they can expect to have their plans reviewed. And I understand the idea that it's cyclical, and we could also have the possibility of having an engineering firm on a task order or whatever we want to call it, so that whenever we do, if we do have time that we are overwhelmed, they can take some overflow, they can take some extra, and that would reduce the amount of cost overall. But
when we had an engineering firm, it was costing us $300,000 to $350,000 a year to review. Okay,
yes.
Now we were getting $80,000 back in revenues.
Mhm.
So if you're willing to take that loss every year and continue doing it, I'm willing to do that. But it seems to me it would make sense for us to hire 2 people to do it and double the cost of the permit.
I'm agree with you 100%.
If y'all are willing to do that, I'm willing to move on it.
Do we need a motion to that effect?
No, I can do it.
I'm just
That's
joking.
administrative, but, you know.
Well, no, I can
just
handle it.
think
I mean, that's
one
what
of the
I'm
things-
saying, but I don't want it, when it comes up, when you're gonna have to vote to change the fee,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're gonna have to vote. Then, if I hire 2 people and we doing it, then you're gonna not vote to raise the fee, then we back in the situation. So, if I'm gonna do that, I
This is one of the things
just,
that we had talked about by having an expanded engineering group. You may have hired 1.5, and it becomes cost reasonable, or where he's doing other things also. Because it doesn't necessarily mean we go from just 1 to double.
well, if you want it fast, it doesn't
Yeah.
come out that fast if you, I mean, it's some time in doing it. Every time we revise an ordinance or look at a different ordinance in drainage or other things, that's more stuff that we have to go out and inspect and look at, and you know, it's changing every day. It's evolving.
And the reason
that-
I think it's important and that we will be doing this at a deficit is because the people of this parish has said very loud and clear that we want these extra things. We want all of these extra ordinance and precautions about drainage and about building codes and stuff like that. It's not that the person that's building the house, everybody in the parish wants it, and it makes this parish better. So therefore, we need to pay, the parish ourselves needs to absorb the difference, because we were mandated.
I don't believe that. Why should we pay the difference for a developer?
Because
And pay their cost to build a house and make profit on it?
Because everybody in this parish benefits, and I'm not just talking about a developer on a subdivision, just overall. They review a number of things. And, you know, I think it's worth it to do. For us to know that we're getting what we've asked to get and to protect our people, I think that's important.
Mr. Joseph.
Mr. President, can you get your department to put some numbers together, and so we can look at those numbers, and if we're gonna raise the increase of the fees, we'll see how much different they would be, and maybe that would help us move forward with this here and support you on that.
If you hire 2 people to do this, I can tell you what it's gonna cost. If you hire, say you wanna hire a $100,000 engineer, which is what I'm hearing here, And if you hire a EIT, which you can do the central training, you're talking about $160,000. Right now, the fees we've been taking in to review plan is about $80,000 a year. In fact, I checked it not 2 weeks ago, maybe 83,000.
I think this may be something for a deeper discussion going forward.
In the finance committee.
Yes, Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, I don't want to, I agree, we need to do this through the Finance Committee, but just a parting shot. Mr. President, the fees that we do charge, we're clearly upside down on them from what you described. How does that relate, though, to even other parishes? Are we undercharging even for, you know?
Other parishes have impact fees and other means of revenue. We do not have any kind of other fees that offset that. So
Just to review plans right now, whether or not we use the system where you said we had multiple outside people, we're paying 300 and something thousand.
at one firm.
Right, and now we're doing more in-house and so forth. You still have a set amount of money, this $80,000 you're talking about. So is that competitive for reviewing plans with other parishes are doing? I realize there's probably more plans in some parishes than others.
I would have to yield that question to Ricky.
Right on the other side.
Do you know about the fees?
Well, I mean, it sounds like the president thinks we should charge more fees, and that idea intrigues me. So I'm trying to figure out, are we competitive? That's not a good term. How do we compare with other parishes for reviewing plans and the amount of money they charge to do the same?
It's sort of complicated when you just say other parishes. I'm going to compare us to Baton Rouge because, you know, the surrounding parishes, you know, Iberville and St. James, they're not doing near the growth we're doing.
Right, that's what I was saying. Growth's going to affect it. We're growing real
So when we
rapidly.
compared our costs to what Baton Rouge charges, we are already higher than what Baton Rouge charges. But Baton Rouge is going to hit you with, you know, a $4,000 or $5,000 per lot impact fee for traffic and sewer. So their review fee is insignificant compared to ours. They're almost reviewing it for nothing. I mean, their fee is nothing. But when you tack on the impact fee for a commercial or residential development, their fee far exceeds what we're collecting. They're collecting $50,000 or $60,000 for a commercial subdivision. We collect $525.
And Baton Rouge is able to do this in a timely manner, or is there someone cracking a whip on the developers over there saying you're not doing this fast enough for us? And
Well, I don't live or work in Baton Rouge, so I can't answer that question accurately. I can tell you there's been stories in the newspaper about them trying to push
I read those.
their department to automatically approve things, which I think is a tremendous mistake, because then people will just push things through that aren't correct or inaccurate or
we don't
whatever.
wanna do that.
When our department and the engineering department are running like a smooth-oiled machine, you know, we're turning residential structures out within 5 days. We're turning plats out within 48 hours. We're turning engineering review out within 2 or 3 weeks. That is very efficient for the amount of work that goes into those projects. The fact of the matter is, we lost a good engineer, and we've been put into a hole. You know, we utilized CSRS when I first got here, and like the parish president said, that cost us $300,000 to $400,000 a year. When Chris Ewing left after I first got here, we hired Fortin DeBlata, and it didn't cost us a penny because the fees were paid directly to that engineer. That's a plan we could go after again, but I'll tell you what, the development community hated it because it was very expensive, because Fortin DeBlata charged whatever they want. If your review took 10 hours, you were going to pay Fortin DeBlata's fees for 10 hours. It was a great package for us, because when we got a letter that says everything has been reviewed and in compliance with the code and we've been paid, you can move forward. It worked, but it wasn't very efficient because
cost neutral to us, but it made the developers mad.
It made them upset, yes, because it wasn't time sensitive, and I don't think we got the integration that you get when you have an in-house engineer that can walk across to my office or walk across to Bill Rue's office and says, hey, what's going on in this part of the community? You know, they're in an office in Baton Rouge. They don't know what's going on in those specific parts of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Just a couple of things there. You know, let's get back to what we originally started out here with, you know, sweetening the pot for the employees that are out there, you know, busting their tail on a tractor in all kind of traffic, you know, risking their life to keep the parish up. Like Ms. Terry said, I would really like to see them get it earlier in the year. Hey, we got the insurance working for them. If they need to, we can bump this as, you know, January, February. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but, you know, it's, you know, things are constantly going up. The cost of living is out of, just about out of reach. Whatever we can do for our employees, I'm for it. The other thing, you know, I don't know everyone's business here, but you're gonna have retirees going out. I'd like to see the salaries here that are nice, where we can attract good people to come here. You know, I don't know how many's going out, but you're fixing to see a reduction in that. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion on the floor to amend the 2014 budget and adopt the 2015 budget. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 20, reading of ordinance to revoke the existing 19-foot servitude running along the east line of Lot 1A1 and the existing 12-foot utility servitude running along the west line of Lot 1A1 of the Shafter P. Kling property, junior property.
To revoke a 19-foot servitude along the east line of Lot 1A1 of the Shafter Kling Junior property and the 12-foot utility servitude on the west line of Lot 1A1 of the Shafter P. Kling Junior property in Ascension Parish, Louisiana, more particularly describing attached plat map. Whereas the petition is petitioned Ascension Parish Council to revoke a 19-foot servitude on the east line of Lot 1A1 of the Shafter Kling Junior property and Lot 12-foot utility servitude on the west line of Lot 1A1 of Shafter Kling Junior property in Ascension Parish. Whereas the Drainage Department and all relevant utility committees have reviewed this and researched and requests and have no objections to the revocation. The Parish of Ascension hereby ordains that it grants approval to the revocation of 19-foot servitude along the east line of Lot 1A1, the Shafter Kling Junior property, and Lot 12, and the 12-foot utility servitude along the west line of Lot 1A1, the Shafter Kling Junior property in Ascension Parish. More fully describing the plat attached here to made a part hereof. All ordinances or parts of ordinances of conflict herewith are hereby revoked. In the event any provision of the ordinance is ever held to be invalid by such invalidity shall not affect the provision which are here given full effect without the invalid provisions. That in the provision are hereby declared severable. Its ordinance effective shall become 15 days from adoption. The ordinance have been submitted.
Open the public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Sadler.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cazzo.
Motion to close.
Motion closed by Mr. Sadler. Second by Mr. Lambert.
Move the ordinance.
Motion on the ordinance, Mr. Sadler.
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Move along to agenda item number 23, reading of ordinance to revoke the existing 19-foot servitude along the west line of Lot 2A1 of the Linda F. Day property.
To revoke a 19-foot servitude along the west line of Lot 2A1 of the Linda F. Day property in Ascension Parish, Louisiana, more particularly described on the attached plat. Whereas the petition is petitioning Ascension Parish Council to revoke a 19-foot servitude along the west line of Lot 2A1 of the Linda Day property in Ascension Parish. Whereas the Planning Department, Drainage Department, and other relevant utility companies have researched and reviewed said request and have no objection to the revocation. The Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that it grants approval of the revocation 19-foot servitude along the west line of Lot 2A1 of Linda Day property in Ascension Parish, more fully described in the plat here too, made a part here as Exhibit A. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby henceforth repealed. Any provision of the ordinance is held invalid. Such invalidity shall not affect the provision which here can be given effect without invalid provisions. To that extent, the provision of this ordinance hereby declared severable. The effect of this ordinance shall be 15 days after adoption. The ordinance have been submitted.
Open the public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Sadler.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cazzo.
Motion to close.
Motion closed by Mr. Sadler.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cazzo.
Move the ordinance.
We have a motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance is moved. Before we move along to agenda item number 26, I just would like to ask everybody and remind them that we have ribbon-cutting ceremonies for the Henderson Bayou Floodgate Project next Monday, and that's November the 24th at 10 a.m. And I think everybody on this council and drainage, and we're just very happy to see this day arrive, and it's been a long time coming. And so, welcome to the public out there. Come look at it, and you'll see a brand-new one. It's not muddy or anything. Yes, Mr. Joseph.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to remind everyone, early voting start this Saturday,
That
and
is
it goes
correct.
through the whole next week, and I just encourage everyone to go out and vote.
And with a last, I think I speak for everyone up here, and including the administration, that we wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Please, please take time to count your blessings early and leave some time to look around to those around you that need your help. And we have probably some of the most wonderful organizations and the anonymous donors and business people in the parish that we try to get some food out to the needy and help the elderly. But let's everybody take a good look around. And with that,
Motion adjourned.
we have a motion adjourned by Mr. Sadler, second by Mr. Joseph. Any discussion, any opposition? We are adjourned.